Hey guys, it's Sam and welcome back to the BulbaSquad. Sorry I've been gone for so many days. I've just been having a hard time recording videos, mainly because my family has been over a lot and makes a lot of noise, and then I just can't record proper videos, so sorry about that. And today I'm going to introduce the progression series to you guys. By progression, I mean we are going to go from I'm going to show you guys how to start investing, then kind of the middle of holding it, watching your investment grow, and I decided we're going to have that middle because there's a lot of psychological strength needed, especially whenever you're holding long-term product that is very it can fluctuate a lot because the market changes. And then we have the end. The end is essentially the sale, how much we're looking at for the return, etc., how we can evaluate that. So today we're going to be evaluating low risk investments. Next time I'm here, we're going to do high risk investments. So low risk investments are essentially they're essentially your regular stocks, your mutual funds, all that. We're looking for about 6 to 8% return annually, and we're looking for things that are very retrace resistant. For example, your vintage WotC era stuff. Those things are going to be very resistant to retraces. Even if we decide to talk about like the base set unlimited Charizard, which I believe the PSA 9 was looking around $5,000 and retraded back down to $2,000. Even in that case, if you decide to look at it before that point in time, it was an $800 card, so it went up. It did retrace, but it didn't retrace below where it was. Unlike a modern card, for example, something like a Rainbow Red Charizard, before it released, it was about, I don't even remember anymore. I think it was 1,500 plus, and now it's all the way down to the 300s. So that's just low risk. Now, I wanted to go a little further into explaining what exactly my low risk versus high risk is. I categorize low risk and high risk as in population versus population versus exposure. I started getting confused. So, population is a card that is specifically driven by how many people are in the hobby. Essentially, it's a card that's very well known, and the biggest factor for its growth is the more people there are and want the card, the worse the ratio is. Like 100 people to a card versus 10,000 people to a card, and that's where the growth comes from. Exposure would be your illustration cards. Like, perfect example, the Pokemon Snap competition cards. I have a feeling a lot of you guys haven't seen those. I'm going to have them put up on screen because those things are gorgeous. So, those would be your exposure-based cards. Eventually, exposure can make its way into a population once enough people know about it, but until it makes that transition, it is high risk in my opinion, simply because you don't know if it'll gain the exposure it needs, or if, simply put, people don't like the card. So, we're going to break this down into 3 eras. We're going to evaluate WotC, pseudo vintage, which is WotC onwards. I would say almost like XY is starting to get into that time, because depending on where you look at it, it's pseudo vintage. Like XY Evolutions is starting to push that. But I'd say at this point, like Flashfire all the way back is going to be pseudo vintage. And then we're going to look at modern. Alright? So, the WotC era, it's actually really easy for low risk. That is your established market, everyone wants it, everyone knows it. This entire boom, the biggest words we've been hearing are WotC. WotC is all we hear. So, low risk WotC, essentially anything first edition, you're good, alright? First edition, specifically from the first gen. So that's base set, base 2, fossil, jungle, and Team Rocket. All of those, most of those cards have their own identity, and that's the big thing. If they have their own identity, that means they are now population driven, so you can actually pretty safely invest into them. Once you get past that time period, though, those commons and uncommons aren't going to hold as much value. So you want to aim for your holo rares, your starters, your big hitters, your legendaries, and your non-holo variants, alright? You don't want to go for those commons, uncommons. Base set is a very unique set in that all of those commons and uncommons have their own identity. Even the energies have their own identity. I think an energy graded in a 10 is like $50, which is ridiculous, alright? And so, apart from singles in that area, any booster boxes, which I know booster boxes are expensive, but I just wanted to say that because simple enough. So you cannot convert from you can convert from sealed products to singles, but you can't go back, all right? So any booster boxes, booster packs, anything like that is going to be a good bet for you. I would say a little bit the pre-constructed decks, theme decks, so long as you pick and choose really well. I'm not too well versed in those, but I know some people know how to navigate them pretty well. For example, I know there are some base set ones that can have shadowless cards in it. I didn't really know that. I don't know how to identify them, but just throwing that out there for those of you that are thinking about it. So, apart from that, I think one more up and coming area you could invest in would be graded packs. That would also be pretty low risk, in my opinion. Yes, you have the chance of getting counterfeit packs simply because it's a newer market. But just like if you buy the old cert cards for PSA, you can sometimes get fake cards. Just buy the newest cert numbers, like what are we up to? We're in I think it was 40 millions, the 4 at the beginning. We might be pushing into the 5. I'm not sure though. Just buy the highest ones, and more than likely they have developed their skills enough that you're not going to end up with counterfeit packs, right? And I just say that because I believe eventually counterfeit packs will have a bigger role to play in the hobby. Now, as for pseudo vintage, this one's a little trickier. Again, I believe sealed product is going to be great, and for pseudo vintage, I'm even going to throw elite trainer boxes in. I say elite trainer boxes because we got Plasma Storm and Plasma Blast. Those two are the big ones I know of that have elite trainer boxes. Others might have it, but those are the two I know of, and I don't want to try and say something and it be wrong. So with those, we can no longer just get all the hollows, alright? You have to go for the chase card. Those are like the only ones that are going to be kind of low risk. But even then, they can fluctuate heavily because there's going to be more of that product out there than there will be of WotC. So those are teetering on the edge depending on what kind of set we're talking about. Like if we, what is it? If we decide to talk about the platinum time, those are pretty rough because we just can't find them. They're not all that common. And so go evaluating your time periods and you'll find out which sets were printed the least. You have places like the Elite Forum /E4 that you can ask questions, and there are some really smart people out there who can help bring up the numbers for you guys. So go after the chase cards of the set, like the gold stars, and just any cards that seem like they're really strong, right? And as for modern, this is the big one, right? I know a lot of people are going to tell me modern is not something that's low risk. Modern is the highest risk there is. Actually, I think there is low risk in modern. You just have to know how to navigate it. And it can be summed up into one sentence. Lowest cost basis. That's what it is. Get any product at the lowest cost basis. So, I know I've been saying some videos on pre-orders being bad, but here I'm going to say this. Pre-orders are 90% of the time gonna be your cheapest buy-in into a product. Alright? Pre-orders are usually gonna be the cheapest buy-in, especially when it's calmed down, because then you can get those $500 cases. So, that is what you're looking for. Try to purchase them right at the beginning as low as possible, so that way even if the product sucks and you get a Steam Siege, Crimson Invasion, or Fates Collide on your hands, you're at least a little more resistant to that kind of pain. However, if you miss that pre-order ship, it's okay. It happens. You miss ships all the time. I missed the Shining Ho-Oh ship where it was $5 a piece, and then you could go grade it for like $275. Like, that was gone. Alright, I missed it, and that's okay. Now, whenever you miss the pre-order period and that product starts going up in price, just wait. I would say wait between that 90 and 180 day mark. Now you see how the market took in that product, and you can make a more educated guess than if you were to just bought right after the pre-orders ended and whenever it released onto the street. Because you no longer have that barrier protection, which I'd say like $20 is pretty heavy. $20 is really heavy buffer between between a retrace. Whereas if you take on those extra $20, you will feel retraces a whole lot harder. So once it passes, watch, decide, okay, is the market accepting this and really loves this? Do I think it has a future? Or is the market going to make fun of it and the opportunity cost going to be too high for me to do anything? The other thing I wanted to talk about with Modern, which I'm not going to do a full in-depth explanation in this video, is optimization. Modern is it's not like WotC where you can buy a lot of stuff that you fully enjoy and make your best returns. Modern has to be fully optimized. I'll do a deep dive into that another time simply because there's too much to go over. But I just want to say that Modern should be optimized beyond simply purchasing everything. And I will say, I don't think Modern singles are something you should buy. Modern singles are way too risky. The only time they begin to slightly move into the low risk area would be once they're out of rotation. For those of you that don't know, there's out of print, which is kind of safe, not really, and then there's out of rotation. Whenever it gets out of standard, Pokemon usually doesn't print it anymore. The reason I say singles are too volatile is because a majority of new investors do not have the money to go into WotC. They do not have the money to tie up like $1,000+ into one card. No, they'll have a bunch of money to tie up in various little PSA cards. I'm not going to pull them out because that'll make too much noise for you guys. So, those are very speculative in my opinion and risky. Once they get into the out of rotation era, alright, you can try to go ahead on those, but keep in mind, those are going to have the biggest impact whenever people start cracking the sealed product because there's so much of it out there. Keep in mind, with every generation, usually, until we hit when we go from WotC to Pokemon to Nintendo having it, there's going to be some sets that have lower print runs, but when it comes to Sun and Moon onward, the sets keep getting bigger and bigger print runs because Pokemon kept growing. So that essentially sums it up to cap it off for all of you guys. WotC, by WotC First Gen, you can purchase any cards that are your hollows, non-hollows, and for base set unique one, you can purchase basically any card so long as it's first edition Shadowless Unlimited. Don't do that, alright? And those will be pretty solid investments. As for the other sets, go for your hollows, non-hollow rares, and big starter cards, chase cards, etc. Sealed product, fantastic. Pseudo Vintage, go only for the chase cards. Do not go for little niche cards because those are very speculative in my opinion and dangerous. Sealed product, again, Modern, get your cost basis as low as you can and try to pre-order, but if you miss it, 90 to 180 days, evaluate the market, make up your mind at that point because now you can make an educated decision. Sorry about that, my dog was spinning. And so yeah, that wraps it up. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Tell me what you guys think of the progression series. Are you looking forward to more episodes? Is there something maybe I should address for you guys? And I'll see you guys next time.